So, what does any of this mean? Does Nintendo not care about Star Fox enough to realize that there are people who want more than just a single game to keep getting special treatment as they continue to act like nothing after the Light Wars ever happened, up to the point to where there will be more re-releases than new games and that there'll never be another original idea in the franchise again? Okay, well, definitely not that answer.
My first solution, which I don't recommend, but I'll still say anyway, would be to reboot the series again, but with a clear vision for the future. But the cons are that this has already happened multiple times. And I don't want Star Fox to only be known as the franchise that has to keep starting over because Nintendo doesn't know what they want to do with it.
Star Fox is based on the Nintendo 64 game, Star Fox 64.
2 weeks ago, Nintendo Shadow dropped a brand new direct focusing entirely on a new Star Fox game. This has been a long-time dream of mine for many years. But then after I finished watching it, it gave me cause for concern, one that several other people online also share. I'll go over key points in the presentation and give my overall thoughts on what was shown to us. Let's get this out of the way. This game is, once again, another retread of Star Fox 64 and the Light Wars, because that one joke I made before was taken too literally and became a reality. From the looks of it, this new version of Star Fox also serves to be a definitive version of the Light Wars story, complete with fully cinematic cutscenes and mission briefings in between levels. One minor thing I'm glad they addressed is that they said up front that this game is meant to be a remake and not a reimagining, which was one of the many points of confusion in regards to Star Fox Zero. Every character has been given a complete design overhaul, appearing more animalistic than what we're used to seeing them as before. This feels reminiscent of how they used to look in the original 1993 game, where puppets were used to portray the characters. The new designs also debunk the metal leg theory that has been going around for well over a decade. But then again, that was already debunked in the Mario Galaxy movie when Fox showed off his cool space boots, not his cool metal legs. Oh yeah, and it also got debunked in literally every other game before this one, where the team has been redesigned to differ from their previous appearance. And speaking of the movie, it feels a little jarring to go from Fox's traditional animated look to this new realistic approach. I don't hate it like some people do, but I'm not the biggest fan of it either. This is the least of my concerns regarding this game. One new addition that I genuinely think is great is the inclusion of mission objectives. Depending on your chosen difficulty, you have different tasks to achieve for the sake of an extra challenge. In other Star Fox games, the main objective was usually to get the highest score possible in order to earn a medal or other collectibles and achievements depending on the game. The multiplayer mode alone already looks better than both the original 64 and the 3DS remake. It actually feels like there's more to do than just scoring the most eliminations out of your friends. But will this be better than Star Fox Assault multiplayer? I'll figure that out once the game actually releases. The next change that I genuinely think is a great idea is incorporating the option for mouse controls for more precise aiming. Yes, this is a gimmick, and I know Star Fox fans are allergic to new changes, but I think it actually works well for the game itself and takes advantage of the hardware it was built for. It also helps that not only is it optional, but this game will come out only 1 year after the Switch 2 released, and not towards the end of the console's lifecycle. Along with that, there's also a co-op mode where one player operates the R-Wing and the other controls the weapons. This is identical to how Star Fox Zero did their co-op mode, with the gamepad as the gunner and the Pro Controller as the pilot. Even though I didn't have a problem with using the gamepad back in the day for Zero, I think the mouse controls will feel more natural for everyone. They changed Cat's design again! At least for every other character we've seen, they look close enough to what we're used to for us to know who they're supposed to be. But Cat is almost unrecognizable since her front color changed again. Originally, she had pink fur and round eyes, as we've seen in Star Fox 64, its 3DS remake, Farewell Beloved Falco, and Star Fox Zero. In Star Fox Command, she had gray-black fur and narrow eyes, almost like a tuxedo cat. But in this new game, her colors appear to be inverted, with her fur being predominantly white with pink highlights. I asked a few friends what they thought of how the game looks, and one of them said that Cat looks like she was on drugs. I think if her colors stayed consistent, I wouldn't be too bothered by this change, but it is what it is. What's equally as surprising as the sudden drop of this direct was seeing how soon afterwards this game comes out. The game is expected to release on June 25th of this year. Coincidentally, it almost aligns exactly with the release of the original Star Fox 64 29 years ago, which came out on June 30th, 1987 in North America. I think the use of character avatars for the camera is hilarious. This definitely feels like an entry point for players to try their hands at VTubing. I already know for certain that there will be plenty of YouTubers who will incorporate the character models for their videos as soon as it becomes available. I'll admit that I too had some interest in being a VTuber at some point, so I'm not one to talk. This game is shown to be compatible with the N64 controller used for the NSO, further cementing that this is the Star Fox 64 successor that older fans say they wanted since that era. Don't get me wrong, it's always a good thing to have more controller options for different types of people, but it's like they're acknowledging that after 10 years of radio silence, they could have given us a game similar to 64 without it being a full-on remake, but didn't. Unironically, the most exciting part to me about this Direct was seeing the acknowledgement of Star Fox Adventures for the first time in years. As much as people like to pretend that Nintendo chose to bury the non-Lylat Wars era of Star Fox, I'm glad that they took a brief moment to show that this game happened. I kid you not, I screamed when I saw Star Fox Adventures on the screen, because I thought that Nintendo was going to re-release that game on the NSO library. But it's been a few weeks since the Direct, and it still hasn't happened yet. Seeing the E through T rating at the beginning made me hopeful for that, but it looks like it was only for the few seconds where they showed us a teen-rated game. What's strange is how, during this segment, they skipped over Star Fox 2, Assault, Command, and Zero when talking about the franchise's legacy. What's even stranger is that Star Fox 2 is also on the NSO, but was skipped over, kind of like what happened to the actual game. Do you remember that Star Fox history trailer that was made leading to the release of Star Fox Zero? In that video, they took the time to showcase every game that was available at that time and didn't gloss over anything. The final announcement shown was a preview of the game's prologue, giving us the full backstory behind how Pigma double-crossed James and Peppy. Before, the subplot was relegated to just a wall of scrolling text in Star Fox 64 and Zero. This was something I know plenty of people wish to see in full detail because of how enigmatic James' fate was for so long. Something I picked up on immediately was how the original Star Fox team uses the classic icon, while Fox's era uses the updated version. I think this subtle detail helps in bridging the gap between the old and new generation of the team, but I personally prefer the old version more. Here are my final thoughts on Star Fox 2026. I'm not alone in having this opinion, but I'm very torn about this game. On one hand, this feels like what Star Fox Zero was supposed to be 10 years ago, giving players a new look of the Lylat Wars story and other content that wasn't able to be shown initially. But on the other hand, this could have been an original game with a different story, and not a remake of 64 again. Because of how the more recent era of the franchise was dominated by Star Fox Zero, I always assumed that whatever the next game may be, it'll follow up directly from there. It could have been a new story continuation like what Starlink did with the team hunting down Starwolf, or it could redo the previous timeline of events and expand what was previously established. What stings even more is that there were 3 different options on following up on a previous storyline that continued past this point, not to mention 3 different options on expanding the gameplay. But they chose the safer option to retread on old ground instead of breaking new one. This used to be a joke before, but now this franchise has nearly half of its main library dominated by one type of game. On the contrary, let's look at The Legend of Zelda. Excluding the spin-offs, there are around 20 mainline games. Now, imagine if half of those games were all Ocarina of Time, instead of a different game that takes inspiration and elements of that game. Do I think Star Fox 2026 is going to be successful? It definitely could be, but there's no guarantee at the moment. This game does have the advantage in that Star Fox's popularity is now higher than it's been in years, with Fox's appearance in the Super Mario Galaxy movie introducing newer fans to the character. While I think that it will sell more units worldwide than Zero, I don't know if it'll reach the sales of the original game. Without an accessory bundle to enhance the overall experience, the star power of the brand is the main thing to carry its sales numbers. But even then, that may not be enough, as was the case for 64 3D, which only managed to sell 1/4 of the units that the original achieved worldwide. And with the price of the Switch 2 increasing even more after less than a year of being available, that may also hinder its success. I have a story to share that's somewhat related to how I feel about the new game. This one time when I was a teenager, I went to a fast food restaurant with my family. I ordered a chicken Caesar wrap, but I was instead given a chicken quesadilla. I still ate it, and it tasted fine, but that wasn't what I ordered. I tried again for a Caesar wrap, but got a quesadilla a second time. After eating that one, I ordered again and kept getting the wrong item. I don't know if I wasn't articulate enough, or if the cashier was mishearing what I said, but it took 5 attempts and my mom speaking for me to finally get the food that I asked for. Despite the issues I have, I will give the game a fair chance when it comes out, as I have with every other game in the franchise. But I don't want to feel like the series is being held hostage if it doesn't sell enough, which was the dilemma it faced a decade ago. Star Fox as a whole deserves better, and it shouldn't have to be forever stuck in the 90s when other franchises are allowed to evolve over time. To wrap this up, I'm going to update my tally count once again for every time a Star Fox game has been re-released. Be sure to check out that video for further details on how I established these rules. Star Fox 1993 has 7 releases total, with 4 of them being the full game, and 3 of them being a snippet of the game, including Star Fox Super Weekend, the Nell Sonic Game Watch, and the Boss Micro Game in WarioWare Smooth Moves. Star Fox 2 has 3 full releases, because even though both Nintendo Switch consoles share their NSO library, the Switch 2 is a different console from its predecessor. Star Fox 64 is now up to 9 releases total, with the Nintendo Switch 2 housing 2 of them, including the upcoming Star Fox 2026, which has been stated to be directly based on the 1997 game. Star Fox Adventures has 2 releases, with one of them coming from the interactive multi-game demo discs found at retailers from the GameCube era. Likewise, Star Fox Assault shares 2 releases for the same reason as Adventures. Star Fox Command has 2 full releases, with one of them coming from the Wii U eShop. Star Fox Zero has 2 releases, including the demo that came out 3 months after the full game for some reason. Even though Zero tackles the Light Wars plot again, like 64, gameplay-wise, the 2 games are not one and the same as I have discussed previously. Star Fox Guard, the spin-off of Zero, shares 2 releases as well, including the demo that came out at the same time as the full game for some reason. But let me know what you think. Are you all in for the new game? Are you as cautiously optimistic about it as I am? Or are you flat out not getting it? Regardless of how you feel, I ask that you keep things civil with everyone else. I'm not as excited as I wanted to be, but if you are, then that's great, I'm happy for you. As usual, thank you all for watching, and take it easy.